All right. I really thank you for your patience. We've had some technical issues, but we have sort of worked through it, and we will get started here. So thank you for your patience tonight. And my name is Marty Acketts, and welcome to Peter White Public Library. I'm the adult programming coordinator for the library. And I just have one group that I will thank for this night, and that is the Friends of Peter White Public Library, who pay for all the live streaming. Oh, you just killed me. Okay, there we go. I will. So, I have to thank the Friends of Peter White Public Library, who pay for all the live streaming equipment. I guess there are some issues with the Spectrum right now, so if the live stream does kick out, we are working on that, so please be patient. But anyway, I just want to highlight a few things that are upcoming this week and next week for Peter White. Tonight we have obviously John Smolens' book launch reading for his new collection of short fiction, Possessions. This coming Saturday, starting at 1 p.m., we have what we're calling Poetry Palooza, and that is going to be NMU's MFA poetry students who are going to be reading tonight on Saturday at 1 p.m., starting at 1 p.m. upstairs in the Heritage Room. And that is the students from the MFA program at NMU who are going to be doing their end of semester poetry reading. So I do really encourage you to come. That's always a really wonderful, wonderful event. That starts at 1 p.m. Saturday upstairs in the Heritage Room. Then, for those of you that love tuba music, that is Sunday, Tuba Christmas, starting at 1:30 p.m. in the Marquette Regional History Center, but we will be live streaming them at that as well through the Peter White Public Library YouTube page. So that starts at 1:30 p.m. I believe that the doors open at 1 p.m. for that at the Regional History Center. But if you do not want to sit in a room full of 50 tubas listening to Christmas music through the tubas, you are welcome to join us via the YouTube page. And that event will also be available after the fact as well if you do miss it. So that is Tuba Christmas, December 7th, Sunday at 1:30 p.m. I will be there live streaming, and so I think it'll be really wonderful. Then, next week, we have a few events. We have a book launch reading, another book launch reading, Suzanne Sunshower, who is going to be reading from her newest collection of poems, Still Wild Poems from the Bear Shack. That starts at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, right here in the community room. And I really, really encourage you to come to that, because that is the next book in the Uper Poetry series that Modern History Press puts out from Ann Arbor. So Suzanne Sunshower is a really, really wonderful poet, and it's going to be a great evening. Then on Wednesday night, we have our Northwards and Music Christmas Sounds concert. That is B.G. Bradley, myself, Jim Edwards from the Children's Museum, Jackie Love, our in-house band, Big Lake Acoustic, Seamus Collins and Linda Smith, and we also have a musical guest. Whiskey Ryan is going to be here, and we also have Nicole Walton from Public Radio is going to be there as part of that event. So that starts on Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m., right here in the community room again. And then next week, Thursday, we have an evening of art and evergreen. We have our winter solstice art exhibits in the D.O. Gallery and upstairs at the Huron Mountain Gallery. And then we're also going to have some musicians. Carrie Yost and friends are going to be doing Christmas caroling throughout the library in different places. You might have to chase them around if you want to hear everything. But they're going to be here doing Christmas caroling, and that all starts at 6 p.m. next Thursday at various locations throughout the library. So you can stroll, eat Christmas cookies, see the beautiful trees, see the beautiful art in the D.O. and Huron Mountain Gallery, and just show up and have some Yuletide fun Thursday. And then we'll just hit next Friday. We are going to be showing our docu-cinema upstairs in the Shirus Room starting at 12 noon. That's Friday the 12th. We're going to be showing a really wonderful documentary called The First Silent Night, the Christmas Carol That United the World. So, lots of other great stuff coming up in December. There are some flyers back there, but I'm going to turn things over because we are already running late. So, I'm going to turn things over to the gentleman who's off to my left here, Mr. John Smolens, a great, great friend of mine, a wonderful writer. I know you all know this. So, please give a big Peter White Public Library welcome to John Smolens.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your patience. 100 years ago, we wouldn't be having these technical difficulties. I want to take you back 100 years ago. In 1924, in my estimation, one of the great American novels, The Great Gatsby, was published by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And you all have your dog-eared copies here with you, right? So we can refer. Okay, well, and the off chance that some of you forgot them, you're going to not do well on the reading quiz, obviously, but I taught this book a number of times, and I always enjoyed it, and some of my students did too. I think a lot of people don't realize that Jay Gatsby, we always associate him with Long Island and East Egg, West Egg, and so forth. But there is a short section in the novel when there's a flashback showing who he was before he became the Jay Gatsby. In fact, his name was different. This story has 4 sections. Let me just sort of lay out the game plan here. At the beginning of each section, there's a sentence from The Great Gatsby, which is about how when he was a teenager, he was from Minnesota, and he was a beachcomber here on the southern shore of Lake Superior. Okay? So that part I'm not making up. So when I read each section, it will start with a sentence from The Great Gatsby, and then I will fill in the blanks with my, limitless imagination, if you will. After each short section, by the way, Bill Hart, Mark Johnson, wonderful musicians, dear friends, and they've gone through hell to get here. No, they're going to play some music. Between each section, they're going to play about a minute's worth of tunes that were popular in the Prohibition era. You will recognize the melodies, I believe. And then at the end, they're going to play a couple of songs that you probably also will recognize. So that's the game plan. So this is a story called Superior Noir. Now, I should tell you that it was published originally in Marquette Monthly over the course of 4 months. Each section, the 4 sections were published, 1 section a month for 4 months, which even for me reading it, even though I knew the story, it was not that easy to keep track of, well, what happened a month ago? So here you're getting the whole ball of wax. Superior Noir. The first line from The Great Gatsby is, "Then he drifted back to Lake Superior, and he was still searching for something to do on the day that Dan Cody's yacht dropped anchor in the shallows along the shore. Dan Cody stood at the starboard rail of his yacht Tuolumne, watching the boy row across the flats of Little Girl's Point. Torn green jersey, a pair of canvas pants, and still in his teens, it was his smile that bored through Cody's afternoon gin and tonics, alerting him to an unbridled ambition, a vulpine want that could not be denied. His youth and virility posed such a threat that Cody called down the deck stairs, 'Billings, my carbine, on deck.' Grinning, the tanned, blond lad in the dinghy said, 'This is not a safe anchorage, sir.' Dan Cody discovered a gimlet glass in his hand. The ice had melted. Still, he drained the contents, watered-down gin, compliments of the Bronfen family of Canada. The good stuff, not the bootleg poison that drove people to blindness, hallucinations, and death. 'Why is this not a secure anchorage?' Cody asked. The wind on Lake Superior is unpredictable," the boy said. "It can shift at any moment, and if it does, your fine boat will be driven ashore. She'll break up in no time. Superior is full of shipwrecks." That effect, Dan Cody's bellowing laugh, was designed to create fear in his interlopers. He elicited no such response in the lad, seated on the middle thwart of the dinghy. Billings came up on deck, silent and obedient as ever, took the empty gimlet glass from the railing, and handed the Winchester to Cody. Cody liked the heft of his rifle, the feel of the wood stock. "You think I don't recognize danger when I see it?" he asked. "I have worked the Nevada silver mines and the copper rushes of Montana to the Yukon, and you are telling me that my boat is in danger?" That smile persisted, a gift still offered. "I am only referring to the winds here on Lake Superior, sir." "The winds? What's your name, son?" A moment's hesitation, and then, "Gatsby. My name is J. Gatsby." Dan Cody was a man of means who could satisfy his rampant impulses. Where other men were suspicious of hunches, he had learned long ago to pursue every whim and fancy. Something about the boy, his strong shoulders and arms, his sun-bleached hair, told Dan Cody he was lying. Why would he lie about his name? But that was the key. He would lie. He would fabricate a new personality, a skin that suited his needs. Cody raised the carbine, fitting it to his shoulder, sighting down the barrel at the boy's chest. "Sir," Billings said in his quiet fashion. "That will be all, Billings," Cody said. "Of course, sir." He descended the stairs to the saloon. "Tell me, J. Gatsby," Cody said, "what is it you value most in life?" Unperturbed, the boy raised his head and considered the sky. "A most interesting question," he said. "Is it?" "Yes. There is no one definitive answer." "You're prevaricating, son. Not a wise thing to do, as this gun is loaded." "Oh, I have no doubt about that," the boy said. "No, I was just thinking about the notion of value, how it often is only considered from a purely monetary perspective, how it is often confused with the idea of net worth. You are a thoughtful young man, Cody said. That is because thoughts are free, he said. If thoughts were dollars, I would be a rich man. As it is, I have no worth. You might say I am worthless, but value, what I value, that is something else. Indeed, as Cody drew back the hammer, the audible click seemed to defy the afternoon heat. That bird, Gatsby said, still gazing at the sky, it's a kingfisher, and it appears to have its supper in its talons. I value this moment as that bird values that fish. Why this moment? Cody asked. Because it's about to change my life. How so? That, sir, is for you to determine. Cody raised the rifle, took a bead on the kingfisher, and fired. There was an explosion of feathers, and the bird plummeted into the water. It appears, Gatsby's voice was fairly amused, the fish has regained its natural habitat. As Cody leaned his rifle against the railing, he felt the slightest shift in the air, a breeze out of the east. It ruffled the boy's hair as the dinghy drifted sideways. If my boat is in danger, he said, you best come aboard and help me get her into safer waters before this suspect wind runs me aground. Cody considered the dinghy's sun-blistered and paint-chipped gunnels, the dirty water swirling around the boy's bare feet. Besides, he said, your yacht appears to be less than seaworthy, referring to the boy's dinghy. The smile widened, framed by a flawless jaw. Gladly, Mr. Sir. Cody, Dan Cody, he said, and that's the truth. But Mr. Cody, along with Billings, don't you have a crew to assist you? Son, let me tell you about crew. You can always find men to fill out your crew, but able-bodied and capable, that sort of man is all too rare. Tell me, J. Gatsby, and he paused, watching the boy sit upright on the thwart, squaring his wide shoulders as though feeling the cut and fit of his new name like a flawlessly tailored suit coat. Tell me, are you such a man? J. Gatsby studied the Tuolumne from prow to stern, possessively, as though he had already taken command of her. Pulling gently on his oars, the lad drew closer, his eyes blue gems glinting in the southern sunlight. I am, he said with genuine solemnity. J. Gatsby is such a man. Dan Cody gazed toward the anchor road that angled into the water off the bow. There were no tides on Lake Superior, but the currents, not to mention the unpredictable winds, were a perpetual threat to any mooring. He could feel the wind rising. Held fast on her anchor, his yacht dodged and weaved, beating against the current. Then come aboard, J. Gatsby, he said. I am in need of your assistance. In what capacity, Mr. Cody? With the exception of my man Billings, Cody said, I am surrounded by incompetence. I need a skipper capable of setting my boat on course until we reach our destination. Now, some people believe it is all about the voyage, the journey, but they underestimate the value of the destination. J. Gatsby gazed out at the lake long enough that Dan Cody wondered if he was about to refuse his offer, something no one had done in a very long time, at least not without suffering dire consequences, until he raised his eyes to the yacht's deck. What is your destination, Mr. Cody? My destination? Marquette. I have business to attend to there. Marquette. Gatsby had the smile of a natural-born killer. Permission to come aboard, sir. sometimes acoustics. 1921. Part 2. All right, here's the sentence from the Great Gatsby. He was employed in a vague personal capacity. While he remained with Cody, he was in turn steward, mate, skipper, secretary, and even jailer. For Dan Cody sober knew what lavish doings Dan Cody drunk might soon be about, and he provided for such contingencies by reposing more and more trust in Gatsby. Dan Cody envisioned himself a gentleman bootlegger. Much like the gentleman farmer who hires others to toil in the fields, he wished not to dirty his hands while reaping the harvest. J. Gatsby ran the operation, purchasing confiscated liquor from customs officials who worked the border on the St. Mary's River below Sault Ste. Marie, and then running it to ports on the Great Lakes. The benefit for Cody was that he had access to an unlimited supply of booze, the result being that Gatsby would lock him in his cabin during lengthy binges. The lesson for the young man was alcohol was a deterrent to one's deepest hopes and dreams. Cody provided another lesson while prostrate in his teak berth. You're going to make your first fortune working on this yacht, he said. My first, Gatsby said. Yes, there will be others. They will come and go, like women. You win, you lose. Lose? Gatsby said. I don't lose. Old sport, you're sounding quite young. You don't know what winning really is until you've lost often and lost big. They had dropped anchor in Marquette's lower harbor, cluttered with oarboats, fishing smacks, and schooners. Masts and rigging stitched the sky, and the Tuolumne's contraband could be offloaded in broad daylight without fear of local constabulary that had been sufficiently compensated. Gatsby drove Cody's rented Duesenberg, filled with crates of contraband whiskey, to hotels near the train station, making deliveries at the Merchant Hotel, the Hotel Janison, the Hotel Brunswick. His last stop was at the Adams Hotel, where Lila Banks sang torch songs in the lounge and her network of distributed booze to various outlets as far inland as Michigami and Republic. Cody was much taken with her, which was the reason why the Tuolumne frequented Marquette. But this time he did not come ashore, citing self-preservation. The reason for this rare act of discretion waited in the alley behind the hotel, Lila's longtime paramour, Tuka Hautamaki. Where's your boss? Hautamaki asked as his man Emmett Jones unloaded the crates from the wagon. Mr. Cody is predisposed to attend to other business, Gatsby said. Hautamaki had a hard, empty face and looked like a man whose favorite pastime was hunting bear. You tell Mr. Cody he wants to get paid, he comes himself. Emmett unloaded the last crate, and Hautamaki shut the hotel door, leaving Gatsby in the dark alley. He began to drive down to the lower harbor, but stopped when he saw Lila Banks step out from the shadows on the corner of Front and Main Streets. She climbed up on the Doozy's running board, and from a pocket in her fur coat produced a tiny sequined purse. Consider this a down payment. She handed Gatsby a folded Ben Franklin. A C-note's not enough, Lila, he said. You know how Cody gets. It's not for the hooch. Lila's voice was husky from crooning over Speakeasy Echolalia. It's for my passage, she said. She leaned so close he could smell cigarettes, Chanel number 22, and good gin. You must take me away from here, she said. But Tuka, he reeks of bear meat, she said. Get me on Cody's yacht. She climbed down off the doozy, clutched the fur coat, clutching the fur coat about her alabaster neck. Tomorrow night, by the cinder pond. I will nurse Cody, but you, dear boy, I will croon sweet lullabies into your pretty ears. How did you know Tuca was back in town? Cody asked after Billings served his steak and eggs in the yacht's saloon. Cody's traditional hangover remedy was a Mai Tai, and he wore sunglasses against the morning glare off the lower harbor. I have this sixth sense, he said, and well-paid informants. So, old sport, what should we do? About Lila? Gatsby asked. And about the money. We cut off Hautamaki's supply and get Lila on board before we weigh anchor. Cody shook his head with great care. Next time we return to Marquette, the problem will still be here. And worse, such lassitude will encourage others to not pay what's due. We have to deal with Hautamaki now. But he'll, what, kill her? Perhaps. Lila lives close to the edge. She likes it there. Don't you want to save her? You're taken with her. You said she was elegantly corrupt. Cody massaged his temples, a sign that he was thinking, and it was doing dreadful things to his already damaged face. You ever kill a man? You look like you have. Gatsby shrugged. It's a quality I have, he said. Are you speaking from experience? Cody asked. I am, old sport, and it's time you learned. Remove Hautamaki from the equation, and the problem is solved. But first, get me the money. After dark, Gatsby parked so the doozy was concealed behind an enormous pile of coal near the cinder pond. Lila unbuttoned her fur coat as she slid across the front seat and put her arms about his neck, her breath warm on his ear. Know what I want, darling? She whispered. Everybody wants something, Gatsby said. You want to sail away. Cody wants to get paid. And what do you want, Jay Gatsby? Come on, hint. What rhymes with paid? Intriguing question, poetical, not prose. But for the moment, let's stick with Cody's desires. I can get the money, she said, as she leaned back from him, the veil of her auburn hair sweeping down over her dimpled cheek. Emmett Jones, he knows where Tuca keeps his stash. And? Emmett hates Tuca. He's been waiting for this opportunity. He'll clean him out, give me Cody's share for my passage on the Tuolumne. Tell me, Gatsby said, did Emmett approach you or did you make the first move? You might say we moved in concert, Lila said. We devised, how should I say, a solid proposition. All right, you're on, Gatsby said. We weigh anchor tomorrow night. Lila took gentle hold of his face. She had the profound fingers of a jazz pianist. There's more? He asked. Her kiss was tender, tasting of top-shelf gin. Do we need Cody, darling? After we set sail, couldn't he manage to disappear in the lake? Gatsby looked out across the harbor where he could see the bow lights of Cody's yacht, swinging on its anchor, the green starboard light alternating with the red port light. Then what, he asked. We could winter in the Caribbean. What about Billings? Gatsby asked. He's loyal to Cody. Emmett tells me Tuca's stockpile is more than substantial. He and Billings are alike, secretly obstinate men who are willing to be serfs until they can overthrow their masters. Everyone has a price. She laid her head on his chest while her fingers played subtle minor chords in his hair. Now, darling, tell me what you want, and not just the desires that rhyme with paid. This question had long tormented Gatsby. A grand house, a fine automobile, custom tailored suits, and imported silk shirts, and most of all, the love of a woman who could never love another man. And respect. the kind of respect that caused others to pause when he walked into a room. Their awe and silence, acknowledging that they were suddenly in the presence of a god. "What do you want?" Gatsby said as his arms tightened about her fur coat. "I want it all." He gazed out toward Cody's yacht, the red and then the green light signaling their enigmatic code. Sorry. Take it away, Bill. 1920, we're going backwards. Part 3. And here's the sentence from The Great Gatsby. "Americans, while occasionally willing to be serfs, have always been obstinate about being peasantry." The first law Gatsby learned from Dan Cody was, people will do anything for money. When his employer and mentor said anything, he gave the word a deliciously sinister twist, as though proffering Eden's forbidden fruit. As the evening light bathed the lower harbor in supple autumnal hues, Gatsby sat in the Duesenberg, thinking about Cody's first law as he waited for darkness to engulf the ore dock and the trestle, which bore trainloads of mine cargo to and from its summit. Tucked in the breast pocket of his blue blazer was the note that Lila Banks had left under the Doozy's windshield wiper. "Meet me beneath the trestle tonight at 9 o'clock. He watched a boy scurry along Lakeshore Boulevard, a burlap sack filled with clinking bottles slung over his shoulder. Earlier in the day, while reclining in a barber's chair with hot lather coating his face, Gatsby had observed this boy as he entered the shop. Every harbor town on the Great Lakes had kids like him, and Gatsby could not lose sight of the fact that he had once been one of them. "Lost John," the barber said. "You back again?" "Empty, sir." The lad spoke with the feigned innocence that belies devious intent. The barber, a rotund fellow with a waxed mustache, removed 3 hair tonic bottles from his cabinet and deposited them in the boy's open sack. "You rinsed them out good, eh?" With practiced nonchalance, he ran a straight edge down Gatsby's cheek. "I don't want my whiskey tasting like pomade," he said. "No, sir," Lost John said as he fled through the shop door. Now Gatsby watched the boy, weighed down with his cachet, enter the tailor shop in the shadows of the ore dock. Moments after he disappeared inside, a man emerged wearing a wool coat, far too heavy for this mild September evening. The tailor would fill the bottles with contraband hooch delivered to Marquette by Cody's yacht Tuolumne, and then sew them into the lining of customers' overcoats. Here was Cody's law at work, the boy earning pennies for his collection of empty bottles, the tailor earning dollars for filling the bottles with Canadian hooch. The line ran from the Bronfman family in Canada to the rum runners who worked the border along the St. Mary's River, to the U.S. Customs officials who then sold the confiscated booze to Cody, who then distributed the contraband to the ports along the Great Lakes. Everybody got a cut of the action. There are no peasants in America, only serfs who are willing to serve their master Mammon. Lost John, lugging his sack of bottles, understood that it was necessary to do anything to get into the game. And because he understood this one principle, the boy had potential. One day, he too could be sitting in a fine automobile, waiting to meet a woman in a fur coat that would conceal wads of pilfered cash. At nightfall, Gatsby left the doozy and walked toward the trestle. There, beneath the intricate network of timbers, he found Lila reclining fetchingly against a weathered beam. Her eyes closed. She appeared to be asleep, but then she whispered, "The dream is finished." She spoke with effort, her husky voice reduced to smoke. "The dream?" Gatsby asked. "You and I cruising the Caribbean in Cody's yacht? Tuka's money in our hold?" A lovely thought," she said, "but dreams come at a price." "The price is loyalty," Gatsby said. "After we set sail, you want me to dispatch Cody overboard? That is a heavy price." She seemed not to comprehend what he was saying as she raised her hand to his face, her fingers touching his shaved cheek. "Loyalty and love," she said, "the two greatest obstacles to dreams. All you need is conviction." Lila's fur coat fell open, and Gatsby leaned down, expecting to see wads of cash, but her sequin dress was stained around a pearl-colored handle. "Please," she said, "take it out." "Emmett Jones did this?" he asked. "And he has Tuka's money?" "You have much to learn," she said. "Please." Gatsby took hold of the knife handle, which trembled as she exhaled. As he drew the blade out, her body went rigid, and then she slumped against the timber, leaving only the lilting music of water lapping against the base of the oar dock, until Gatsby heard footsteps behind him. He turned, knife extended, to confront Lost John, his empty burlap bag draped over his shoulder. The boy halted, gazing at the knife, not with fear, but with the rarest form of approbation. "It's not what you think," Gatsby said. "I didn't." He dropped the knife and began to walk, his shoes slipping on the wet sand, and when he emerged from beneath the trestle, he began to run. I'm going to need a little drink of water here. Getting a little dry, and I'm reading about all this water. It wasn't until he was rowing the dinghy across the harbor that he became aware of the blood. His hands, his white duck trousers, his double-breasted blazer, all smeared with blood. Tulame lay offshore at anchor, her lights shimmering on the glassine water. Dan Cody would expect him to deliver Lila and the money. He could make up a story. James Gatz, that was his original name, Gatsby's James Gatz, was good at that. He could say both he and Lila had been assaulted by Tuka Hautamaki, a marplot bent on thwarting their designs. He could tell Cody it was Tuka's man, Emmett Jones, who had wielded a knife. He could look Dan Cody in the eye and tell him she was dead, murdered beneath the oar dock trestle. That part was true, and the most convincing lies are always those that are sheathed in the truth. Gatsby considered the blood on his hands and trousers. The evidence could be diluted, soaked with lake water, but the fabric would never be the same. Like loyalty. Once he had entertained Lila's idea of throwing Cody overboard and into Lake Superior, the stain would always remain in the fabric of his mind. It would haunt him, color his every thought, his every decision. When you relinquish loyalty to others, you have no choice but to become your own man, an animal bent on survival. Gatsby stood up in the dinghy and plunged headfirst into the water. The cold was a shock. His clothing clung to his limbs as he pulled himself to the surface. If he were truly loyal, he would just let the current take him, carry him out into the infinite depths of Lake Superior. He would have the satisfaction of being remembered by Dan Cody as the handsome young man who was truly loyal. What was it worth to be remembered well? What is it worth giving your life? Was it the true value of life, how it is remembered? The cold water caused his breathing to become labored. The Tuolumne's crew joked that the only reason to wear a life jacket while cruising Lake Superior was so the body might be found. But he would most likely not be found. His body would descend into the dark, frigid depths where he might not decompose but remain forever. Remains forever remembered as the loyal young man who would bestow his smile like a gift. We're back to 1922. Part 4. From The Great Gatsby, reserving judgments is a matter of infinite hope. Lake Superior is a matter of life and death. As soon as Gatsby leapt from the dinghy into the lower harbor, he understood that the fine line between succumbing and surviving was a decision to be made within seconds. If he did not begin to swim, he would drift away from Dan Cody's yacht, which rode at anchor with a dignified poise, her lights seeming to beckon as their reflection danced across the dark, rippled water. He chose to live. Fortunately, he was a strong swimmer, and it was a mild September night when the harbor was bathed in the glow of a rising harvest moon. Although his strokes were constricted by his double-breasted blazer, duck pants, and two-tone bromes, he reached the ladder at the stern of Tuolumne and climbed aboard. Sopping wet, he straightened his jacket, adjusted the knot in his silk tie, and then entered the yacht's saloon as though he'd been out on a leisurely turn about the deck. Dan Cody, seated on the leather divan, martini glass in hand, looked up, alerted by the sound of water padding on his Turkish carpet. Sitting next to Cody, Lila Banks reclined in a posture intended to exhibit the fine cut of her green silk gown. "My, that is stunning bathing attire," she said. "Success," Cody said. "Do I have Tuka Hautamaki's money?" "No, old sport," Gatsby said. "But I have come to the realization that Lila has a twin sister, identical except for her voice." "What's her name?" "Lee." She sounded bored. "Couldn't carry a tune to save her life." Lila's eyelashes, mascara-laden, afforded her gaze colder than Lake Superior. "Emmett Jones?" Cody asked. "Probably," Gatsby said. "I believe he made off with Tuka's money, but he had an accomplice, or should I say a consort. He bestowed his smile upon Lila. Perhaps you knew your sister sang her last song?" Lila was accustomed to being waited on, fawned over, cosseted, but not being called to accounts. "Jay, how did you know?" she asked. "The fur coat," Gatsby said. "It was a dead giveaway. Some women are born to wear fur. Your sister wasn't one of them. You'd part with such a garment only if it meant a great haul. When the police find your sister's body, they'll be inclined to think that it's you." "Dead women don't sing," she said, "so it would be an honest mistake." Lila drank the remainder of her martini and cast an assessing eye on Gatsby. Those pink blotches on your lovely white trousers, would that be Lee's blood? When he didn't answer, she smiled. So, the police will be looking for you in connection with my murder. Such a pretty face for a killer. Dan Cody got up, veered toward the bar, where he poured gin into his glass. Where's the money Tuca owes me for this latest shipment of Bronfman's hooch, he asked. Emmett Jones must have it, stolen from Tuca, and then he double-crossed Lee, thinking it was you. Emmett opens the door, makes deliveries, Lila said. One rarely takes notice of such a man at first glance. But you took notice, Gatsby said. In some men, darling, brutality is a most desirable quality. Gatsby went to the bar where Cody was filling his glass yet again. That's enough, he said. You know how you get. Gatsby took the glass and placed it on the bar. But I don't understand. Cody turned toward the divan as Lila stood up holding a small nickel-plated automatic pistol. Interesting, Cody said. I thought that knives were her métier. Where could she hide a gun in that dress? Concealment is an art form, she said, and then turned to Gatsby. But the subject was loyalty, so here's your chance. Chance for what? Cody sounded suddenly quite sober. I have Tuca's cash here aboard your boat, Lila said, and your pretty captain is going to take me to the Caribbean where we are going to make good use of your boat and each other. Cody looked at Gatsby and then back at Lila's pistol. Just the two of you? But my crew, they're carousing in Marquette, Lila said. You gave them shore leave tonight. So after Emmett Jones stabbed your sister under the trestle, Gatsby said, you dispatched him with that pistol and took the money. Emmett's adrift in the harbor, Lila said, and Dan can join him. The authorities will suspect a love triangle gone wrong. But Tuca Hautamaki will know it was all about the money. We shouldn't plan on returning to Marquette anytime soon. Old sport, Cody said. You're in on this? Ever since you've taken me aboard the Tuolumne, Gatsby said, I've watched women try to take your money from you. Eventually, I suspect you'll die making some woman rich. Gatsby turned around and faced Lila. In the distance, they could hear revelers, a drunken, off-key serenade about the harvest moon. That's the crew, he said. They're rowing across the harbor. Lila, if you're going to shoot Cody, you better do it now. Cody buttoned up his evening jacket and ran a hand back through his hair. Well, if you must. After you shot Emmett, Gatsby said, I trust you reloaded. Yes, Lila said. Why? Because you're going to need more than one bullet. Why? You're going to have to shoot both of us. And then when the crew comes aboard, you'll have to explain yourself to them. I should have reserved judgment about you, darling. Lila aimed the pistol at Gatsby's heart. Water dripped from his blazer with the precision of a ticking clock. A gentle breeze caused the porthole curtains to billow as though the room were encircled by a troop of ballerinas. Loyalty, Lila whispered as she lowered the gun. It ruins everything. Gatsby crossed the Turkish carpet and gently eased the pistol from her fingers. You could swim ashore, he said, or the crew might lend you their boat. Regaining her composure, Lila went to the bar and poured herself a drink. If I show my face in Marquette, you know what will happen? Your former paramour, Gatsby said, he'll hold you accountable. Tuca Hautamaki's a true Renaissance man, Lila said. His métier includes ghastly unmentionables, such as the garrote. His money, Cody said, filling another glass. Hidden on my boat? If I can conceal a gun in this dress, darling, I can stash 75 grand on your yacht. Cody stared into his drink as though consulting a crystal ball. Once my crew is on board, why don't we set a course for Sault Ste. Marie? The price for your safe transport from Marquette will be half of your haul. A third, Lila said. Well, I'm feeling generous tonight, Cody said. A third for each of us, equal partners. He raised his drink in a toast. What do you say, Gatsby? The wind's on the rise, old sport, Gatsby noted as he looked out the porthole at the moonlight shimmering on Lake Superior. The northwest breeze would make for swift passage, beating close-hauled for the Sioux Locks, gateway to the future. We'll navigate by the stars, which will guide us toward a new world filled with infinite hope. Thank you. Is Mark going to play? Mark, you going to play?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn everything off here.
All right.
You
Yeah.
want to play a little bass?
No, you go ahead. Why don't you go ahead?
I'm just going to play one. I'm just going to play one too because we're pushing the time for Marty here.
I'll play air guard.
So I'm playing. I once heard Sally Rogers and Claudia Schmidt up at the Calumet Theater singing without a microphone in that room, and those two foghorns. I mean, they were amazing. Filled it all up. So let's see if I can. I'm no Claudia Schmidt, that's for sure. But maybe we can play one tune from this period. This was recorded by a lady. I think her name was Edna Meyer, and she was playing with the original Memphis Five in 1922. Okay.
Now we can hear you.
There we go. She sang this song that was really big through the 1920s and has been recorded many times since in many different versions. All right? And if you know, you can sing along to it. There's nothing I can do, nothing I can say. What folks don't criticize me, but you know I'm gonna do what I want to anyway. And I don't care if y'all despise me. And if I should take a notion, jump into the ocean, you know there ain't nobody's business if I do. And if today
we practice this, and we sound